Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Match Day Show. I'm joined this week by Corral. A lot of you will be familiar with Corral from our phone-in shows. He's phoned in a few times. Very technical, tactical mind this man has got. He is a coach. He is a coach. He coaches numerous teams at the moment, and he's also you've been applying for a few jobs at some clubs as well, Corral, haven't you? So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, hello everyone. Yes, I have, and got a couple of things in the pipeline in addition to one or two things I've already got secured. So fingers crossed. Be busy with a few different teams at different levels this season. Just waiting for a phone call from West Ham, but we'll see.
well, look, you never know. You never know what
No,
the
you never know.
season's
You
going
never
to
know.
hold.
You never know.
Could be a managerial post coming up in a few months. The way things are going, you just don't know.
You don't know at all.
Are you ready? Are you ready for that step up?
I'm ready.
If you get the phone call, if you get the phone call.
Well, for the first team, obviously not. But anything in the academy setup, then definitely I would be ready. Definitely I would be ready. Especially I think with us letting go of so many academy players on loan or whatever else. I think I'd like to believe, and I can't claim that I watch their games or follow their scores, but from what little I do read and hear from yourself and people like Gonzo and that who watch them, it seems like they're losing their way a little bit. I might be wrong there, but that's the impression I get.
This season, it appears that way. Yeah.
Season, yeah. So yeah, I would love something in the academy setup, but who wouldn't?
Yeah.
To coach at the team that you supported for your whole life, regardless of the team, would be a dream come true. So we'll just see. But you've got to keep positive and keep pushing on.
Yeah, indeed, mate. Indeed. What are your thoughts of the season so far?
Now,
I suppose, very quickly, very briefly, what were your thoughts on the transfer before a ball had been kicked at the start of the season? What were your aspirations, your expectations for the upcoming season, given the business that we've just done?
I knew it was going to be. Everyone knew it was going to be a big task, and I think when I called you up on my show when I came on the show in December, I said that we need a plan that's going to take 5 years to enhance fully. Those were my words. It's going to be a 5-year rebuild, which I know is kind of stating the obvious, but others could say, oh, it's a 2-3 year thing. I didn't have much hope for this year, and as a result, I think I'm more relaxed for this season. I did expect there to be an improvement. How much of an improvement, I was uncertain. Was Lopetegui my first choice? No. Like you, I wanted Amorim. I wanted him because he's progressive and attacking and young and vibrant and very confident. I don't have anything against Lopetegui at all. As a man, I think he's a nice guy. He comes across very, very well. I think he's very knowledgeable, and the fact that he speaks so many languages, he's got a good relationship with Stighton. He's all positive. But is he the type of man?
He does on the surface of it. He ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't he?
He does, but I mean, I wasn't expecting too much. Not only because of his recent lack of managerial work, I would say, but I didn't really know how different he would be than Moyes, except for we would have maybe a little bit more of the ball. So my aspirations were kind of mute. It's not to say pessimistic. Anything was an improvement than the predecessor. And so as a result, I think I'm more accepting of it. You have to give the guy time. It's a big ordeal to have, 9-10 players come in. And anyone expecting an instant turnaround is solely either delusional or is a Moyes fan and they just want the team to fail. So I think I kept it all in check, Nick. I think I kept it all in check. And, that's the way that I've seen us be, maybe a little bit disappointing in some elements, but we can get into that if you want to, as the season has gone.
But that said, it's going to take time. I think most fans would be on board with that. We all knew the size of the rebuild. I think what has got most fans going has been the team selections early on, particularly what he did in the last game. And that can you understand that team selection?
I mean, no, I can't. And I was going to ask you about that as well. I've been to the 2 home games. I didn't go to the Bournemouth game. I was abroad. My friend that I sit next to, I think he went and he told me that it was abysmal. And I think that was the common consensus.
It was awful.
I do rate Lopetegui for making changes, and I think the manager always has to make changes when they see fit, not as most people do, predefined times, minute 60, minute 75, minute 80, 85. Too many managers are guilty of that. Whereas this guy seems to make changes. He was a bit slow in one game. I want to say it was the Villa game. But generally, he's been on point with that. I can't comment on the Bournemouth game. I don't agree with his selections, and that's something that I'm a little bit concerned about. Now, obviously, you can't fit 10 what we'd see as eligible for first team consideration players all in at once. You can't. That said, has he picked the right players so far for each game starting? For me, no. I'd like to have seen more of Somerville. I'd like to have seen less of Rodriguez. I haven't been impressed with him. And I know that some people may disagree. For me, he's a ghost. He does nothing. He just wanders. He's far too slow. He looks a little bit indecisive. I don't notice him again.
I've found that as well. Look, I'm not as harsh with you in terms of that critique. But I've heard people sort of mention that he's a better player than Alvarez, and I don't know. I don't know what game you can be watching because he doesn't seem one of the main hold-ups that he's got is he's very slow. He's incredibly slow. He's not mobile at all. I do think there's I think he's a good player. I think he's a good solid player.
He's not a crap player. I think he's a 5.5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 player. For me, that doesn't represent value because that means that it's going to overwork Alvarez. So for me, having him in the team doesn't add anything from the beginning at all. It detracts from the beginning of the matches. So I think that Somerville should be playing more. I think that Rodriguez should be playing less. I am glad that we got rid of JWP, albeit on loan. I don't want to see Souček unless it's for the last 20 minutes. I've been very disappointed with what little I've seen of Füllkrug. I think he's a walking tree. The guy, I mean, never mind the money that we paid. That's nothing to do with us. But you have to also remember, the valuations on players are supposed to be indicative of their potential and their ability. For me, this guy doesn't represent anything near a 27 million euro player. If that's the correct figure. And then you see that Duran has scored 3 goals in 5 appearances, all 3 winning goals, one of which against us. Did you
see the one in Europe, the one that got disallowed?
No, I didn't. I finished it. But I heard about it.
People are going to get the out because we're talking about. People are going to get the because we're talking about Duran again. But yeah, he literally dropped.
No, well, they shouldn't because it's comparing what we could have had to what we've got. So you've got to put it in perspective. If you think that Füllkrug is the answer to our striker issues, I think you're wrong. Unless you're going to play him with someone, then I don't think he's the guy. So this is all in line with, have we got the right players for the team? Have we been playing the right players? Antonio looks void of confidence. He's spent up. So as much as we all love him and, everything that he's given to the club and his personality and everything, he's not supposed to be starting. Who else is it that we could be playing? I don't know what's going on with Todibo. What's happened with this guy? This guy came with a big rep and a lot of hype. And the little I've seen of him,
he's a good player, but I only ever saw him in a couple of European games, if I'm being honest. And another one, you look at the show reels. You look at his scouting reports as well. If you ever look at his scouting reports, now they're normally sort of bang on. He's a talented player.
Who was after him?
He's definitely a top player. Juventus, yeah.
So Juventus are no mugs. They're not going to go after a player if they're crap. So basing it on what little minutes I've seen, and it makes you wonder, why is Lopetegui not playing him more? Is he physically not ready? Is he mentally not ready?
If you saw the behind the scenes footage, which was quite harrowing to be honest, no, I didn't. I gave you a bit of an insight into the training. The players was just running past him, which was it was a concern. He didn't look great. But going back to that point on Duran, the goal that got disallowed, I mean, we've seen the worldies, but this one, he came off the bench, picks a ball up in midfield, sprays a ball out, a beautiful pass, literally starts the move, runs up, and then you want to see the finish. He runs up, receives a cross. He literally strikes the ball perfectly with his left foot, and it's low. It's from about 18 yards out, but the finish is fucking crisp. And it curls outside the post and comes in. It's just what a player.
I know that it's old news. However,
It is old news. It's
Still,
frustrating, though, and it is
it's
going to be
very
a problem.
annoying and frustrating.
Yeah.
Plus, I
Yeah.
think he would have been the final piece of the puzzle, as I know you agree. And I also think that this is still a player that we could get at the end of the season. Therefore, I don't think
not the way he's playing, mate. He won't be coming.
Well,
to West Ham.
maybe at a premium, but it also depends on how Villa do in the league and Champions League, and with Watkins' form being a little bit patchy.
Mate,
so
potentially, I think he's a better player than Watkins. Personally.
I do as well.
I think he's a better player than Watkins.
I do as well. And physically, he's more of an imposing presence. But no, going back to us, mixed bag for me. Kilman has been better than I thought, and I'm happy to admit that I was
same here. I got that wrong.
There's still holes in his game, but he's been a lot better than I thought. New players, Wan-Bissaka's been a little bit wobbly in the last couple of games. Do you know
what? I didn't want to say it because I've not mentioned that. He looked really good when we first saw him. Ever since then,
Palace.
Yeah, but ever since then, you sort of he's fine. He looks fine, but
no, I like him.
Yeah,
but he's not. He's still got deficiencies, and I think he was initially to blame for the goal against Fulham, and then later Mavropanos was too slow to react, and instead of just focusing on not giving a penalty, and he put his hands behind his back.
Mavro has been poor this year.
The ball went through his legs, and what's his face that always scores against us, even when he was at Wolves, scored again. I've never liked Mavropanos. I think he's clumsy. I think he's an accident waiting to happen. He's too slow. He's too indecisive. Yes, he's had moments where he's been effective and strong. And his game last year with Ogbonna, at Arsenal was, I think, his best one wearing a West Ham shirt. For me, would I start him? No. Do we have alternatives? No. So you have to play him. But it just means you've got to allow Alvarez a bit more responsibility to take up the deficiencies in his game. And if you're playing Fore at the back, then whoever the right back is, Wan-Bissaka, has to be aware that this guy has got flaws. So if Wan-Bissaka is overcommitting and going out wide, then Mavropanos has to make sure that he doesn't go too close to him like he did against Fulham and allow for the simple square ball from Smith Rowe. Now, Wan-Bissaka should have cleared that ball out for a corner anyway. That's another story.
He should have. Sorry. Are you a little bit concerned with kind of the lack of form of Emerson at the moment?
Definite. I think Emerson has been off since April. And I think I said that as well last year. I think Emerson's been off. And I think, this is only speculation, I think that the proposed move back to Italy that didn't materialize for whatever reason, I think maybe has impacted how vested he is, perhaps. But I think he's been off. I think it was against Villa where he was often drifting to the other side of the field for no reason, leaving his area totally vacant. Now, obviously, there has to be flexibility, but if you're playing left back in a back four and your defense is a little bit slow and you're one of the, the more reliable players, why on earth are you drifting across the side of the field, and leaving a hole? To me, that's a lack of concentration and focus.
Could it be systemic? Because we've got quite a few players at the moment, because you're literally running through the team. And there isn't really many people performing, mate. There's not many people performing. Could it be systemic? No. Could it be that Lopetegui just hasn't found the balance? Because and that is the thing. I explained this on the video that I did yesterday. Sort of trying to sort of judge and gauge these. Like, we've just been through loads of them. I know that Mavropanos is a bit of an exception. He is error prone, but a lot of these other players, we know they're good, solid players. Even Rodriguez, I think Rodriguez is better.
I'm not saying he's crap, but he's just an average player for me.
Yeah, but my point was, if you get it wrong, and playing Souček in that 10, it really does fuck a lot up. And people think I'm just, but people think I'm manhunting Souček. I'm not.
No.
It's the effect it has on the team. He's not. Unfortunately, the guy hasn't got the ability to play on the half turn, to play forward. He runs like 13 kilometers a game, but he's slow. He's not. No. He kind of jogs around the pitch, but mate, it's so detrimental to the balance of our team putting him in it.
It is
in that position, especially.
And if you think that your first line of defense is your attack, so if you see, and you're only playing one forward, if you see that said forward, generally Antonio, is running across the line, often drifting out wide and staying there, then your next line is generally, because teams are attacking in the middle, is going to be the number 10. If that number 10, namely Souček, is not getting anywhere near the ball. He's not pressurizing them, and they're going past him, around him, through him, over him, maybe to an extent, then, as you said, it throws the balance of the team out. And then the team is lopsided as a result. And everybody else is trying to compensate for what has not happened further up the field.
And it is a cascade effect. It
look
goes
at the Villa second
the whole
goal.
way through the team.
Look at the second goal that Villa scored. How many passes? 4 or maybe 5, and they scored.
Yeah, I know.
Bam, 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 bam. Duran's finish, goal. And you think, what happened? It all starts from the front. So if your front line is not pressing, we witnessed this with sodding Moyes, that they were backing off. You can't back off. You either press teams in their defensive third, or you push forward as a whole team. So you can't just have your front player running around like a headless chicken and everyone else is standing and waiting to see what they're going to do. And then they become engaged. Everyone needs to be doing in unison, in blocks. So your first forward, if you're playing 4-2-3-1, your forward and then your 3 behind should be moving as a unit. Forwards, left, right, back, it doesn't matter. But if one player is not pulling their weight, or in our case, generally 2 of them, 3 of them, especially in seasons gone by, the whole team is out of whack. And then the defense are thinking, well, how is this game going to go now, this attack? Are they going to come down this side or this side? And they have to kind of try and figure out as the game is happening.
Because the thing is, the thing is in Premier League football as well, when you've got the slightest flaw in your setup, you haven't got the time, because in seconds the fucking ball's gone. It's switched to the other side. You're being overloaded.
It's too quick. It's too quick. Unless you're playing only a handful of teams, maybe that they play at a slower pace. Then it's too quick. Generally, it's too quick. I don't know. You've got to be lenient with Lopetegui. However, he should have seen enough in the first 2 games before the Man City game.
It was the first 3, really, when you include Bournemouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I forgot that one. So when you include the Bournemouth game, that's 3 games against teams that we can beat. Villa, we've beaten before. Yeah, they're a good team and they're better than us. Fine, okay, and better coach, but Villa, we could have beaten them if we exerted ourselves a little bit longer and we made earlier subs in the second half. We scored the penalty, which was iffy, 5-6 minutes before halftime. We started the second half well, but then we just stopped. They made the changes. We didn't. But we could have. That game was in the balance somehow. It shouldn't have been, but it was in the balance. So if you think that Villa game, and then who did we go to? Palace, which I don't think we were great. I think we were okay for about 35 minutes, 45 minutes over the course of the game, not consistently, but Palace had chances and they hit the bar, I think, once or twice. So that game, and then the Bournemouth game, Palace, Bournemouth, we should be beating these teams. I'm sorry. Villa, we can beat. So when you think in these 3 games, we got a defeat in 1, we got a win out of nowhere against Palace. The Bournemouth game, we really should have lost by all accounts, but somehow we won. That should be enough warning signal for Lopetegui to think, hold on, something's not working here. I need to change this. I need to maybe add more pace on the wings. I need to maybe add more strength in the midfield. Maybe I don't need a double pivot. Maybe I should change the forward. Maybe I should put 2. He should have done something. Not so much for the Man City game, but for the Fulham game.
I do disagree. The Man City game, if you watch that back, he played with narrow. The fullbacks were narrow in that first half, and Pep just spotted that they weren't even going through the middle. They was going around the outside, but he waited until half time until he addressed that, and we went to a back 3. We could have been 4-5 down by that point. This does concern me a little bit, and I've heard this elsewhere as well. Whether or not it's Lopetegui that makes the tactical decisions, I don't know. It doesn't matter anyway. Even if it is a member of his staff, they're his staff. They're there. They're a unit. But I don't know that it is Lopetegui that actually kind of. I don't think he's a tactical mastermind in that setup, though. From what I can see, anyway. And like I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, providing you've got because I think he takes that entourage of people with him wherever he goes, doesn't he?
Yeah. You need to trust the stuff that you got with you. But my point about Man City was, I remember that they were going around the outside all the time, especially when Emerson went down injured and then Soufal came on, and you thought, oh my God, this is going to be a catastrophe, especially on his weaker side. But ultimately, with the exception of going a bit narrower, there wasn't that much different, really. And I think these changes need to be made before the game starts. If you make these changes once the game has started and you got either the second half or you got the last 30 minutes or 35 minutes, it could be well too late by then. And the opposition is thinking, well, okay, they're going to need 10, 15 minutes of the remaining 30, 35 to adapt and to get into the swing of things. I mean, he brought Paqueta on the other day, last week, against Fulham in the second half, didn't he? Whereas you think, well, you know that they've got some technical players in their midfield and they've added Smith Rowe as well.
We had three central defensive midfielders versus Smith Rowe, Pereira, and their one defensive midfielder. Yeah. It was so Souček. He's another defensive midfielder. He's playing in the 10, but he's a defensive player. You know.
See, the thing is, people will pigeonhole you and me for saying, "Oh, you're anti-Souček." I'm not. I'm not in favor of what he brings to the team, and as a result,
it's the impact the man has on the team. That's my problem. Yeah. This is my problem. You know, and it isn't a good. It's not a good impact.
No, it's not. And when you think of the players that we've got as alternatives, Soler, who we're yet to see that much of, but you know he's got a good CV. To a lesser extent, Rodriguez, again, can add more value to the team, I think, for the long term as well than Souček. Souček is a good player to bring on for the last 20 minutes, but that's it. But for me, Lopetegui seems to be getting a little bit unsure as to whether or not he should make wholesale changes from the beginning. Now, the Liverpool game next week is not going to be a good indication for us because it's them. Had it been a weaker side, inverted commas, just like Tottenham played apparently their third team against Coventry and they only just won. Had it been a weaker team, then he could have experimented and thought, well, you know what? They've done well enough against Team X. So from now onwards against Everton or whoever we've got after this game, I can try the same. He obviously he's going to need time to find his feet but they're training how many times a week? I think the preseason was a shambles. That's another story. When I go to Florida when it's monsoon season and play against
that's not Lopetegui's. That's not Lopetegui's.
No, it's not.
Fault,
no. Yeah. I'm not blaming him, but the players and the fact that Areola came back like 7 weeks too late. I know he was away with France, but A, he didn't kick a ball, and B, he still came back too late. Paqueta was away with Brazil. He came back a bit late. Fulkrug came late in the window. You need your preseason with your players. You need them, all of them.
I do. But you do realise that more or less every single Premier League club had the same problem as us. So
I know, but I'm not interested in other teams. I'm just thinking about us and the fact that we've got such a massive onslaught of players that have come. For us, I think it's amplified because I don't know too many other teams. Maybe I don't know who else, but I was going to say Southampton or Ipswich. Nobody's bought as many players as us. I don't think anyone's bought
Brighton have bought quite a few this year.
Yeah, and that's another player we should have got. Ferdi, that went to Brighton, the Turkish boy, half Turkish, half Dutch actually. But
good player.
That's the player that we should have got in addition to Wan-Bissaka because he can play on the left. But anyway,
Wan-Bissaka can play on the left as well. It would have been a good combination.
Yeah, that's true. I think that would have been nice. But anyway, it is what it is. I don't know. I'm happy to wait until Christmas. I think offhand, Liverpool game aside, although Liverpool haven't been brilliant this year, even though they've got most of the results, I don't think they've been great. They're creating chances, but the Liverpool game aside next week, I think we've got a little period of games now that we can get some points. Tottenham are wobbly like
Ipswich coming up. We've got Brentford. We've got Ipswich coming up.
Tottenham at the end of October, I think, middle of October.
Yeah, that's it.
So we've got 3-4 games, and they've got Europe, and they're not playing well at all. We've got 3-4 games that we can get points from, and I think we need to start amassing points. But do we have the confidence that Lopetegui is going to make these changes that we're hoping?
I don't have the confidence that he's going to make the changes. No. I have the hope. I have the hope. I want him to make the changes, and I want him to succeed.
Same.
But
me too.
I'm starting to worry that the guy's cutting his nose off to spite his own face. I mean, look. I said this on the show the other day, right? I think every single fan, we don't expect us to be playing fluid football in the way that Marco Silva's Fulham was playing. He's had a hold of that team for a long time. But you've got to give yourself a starting block. And a starting block would be picking your strongest team and playing players in their strongest position. And then build from there. Then coach your team. Then introduce more and more into the team as the season goes on. I don't know. I don't I don't understand his approach at the start.
No, and
I think he's had a terrible, terrible start. You know, it's almost been like the start for the Labour government. It's
yeah,
not
I would.
quite as bad.
Tomorrow's game will be indicative. The reason being,
Yeah.
Chelsea have got so many players, as we know. They're not really doing that well as far as performances are concerned, but they've got the ability to hurt us, especially in the final third of the field. We need to get something from tomorrow's game. I think even if it's an ugly win, we need 3 points. I think we need to go into the next week with confidence. Historically, we do well against Chelsea at home. And I think in recent times, especially when we played lunchtime games against them, we generally seem to do okay. However, I think playing them now is a little bit of a disadvantage for us. Again, I repeat, not that they're playing very well or they're playing very confidently, but I think they're beginning to click. Whereas for us, we're still looking a little bit confused and a bit chaotic. We're showing glimpses. We're showing glimpses. Sorry, Nick. We're showing glimpses in matches so far, even in the Man City game.
Yeah.
With the exception of the Bournemouth game, by all reports, we've shown glimpses of positive, approaches to the game and passages of play. However, we've also shown more worrying signs than not, in my opinion. And as such, playing Chelsea when they're just beginning to turn it around, and I think they only got their first clean sheet in 20 games away from home the other day when they won 1-0 against someone. I can't remember. Who was it? Bournemouth? I don't know. Maybe we're playing them, I think, a bit too soon because we still need time to gel. That doesn't mean to say we can't win. We totally can. However, if we're looking at the last few games and how he started the team and the fact that, Antonio is what he is, Emerson is a doubt, Fulkrug is a doubt. Do we have enough flexibility? Really, unless he changes the formation, and if you're going to get to that, I can give you my views on that if you want.
This is a thing. I think that's what we need to get to. We've been going for 27 minutes, so we need to get to the Chelsea game.
All right.
So you can talk for England. You're like me. You're worse than me.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. It's all good. It's all good to talk about. I would start up tomorrow in a totally different way, taking on board that Soufal is not a left-sided player. As much as I like him, he's not good enough to start on the right anymore. I would and Emerson's unavailability.
He may not be fit. Emerson might not be fit.
No, I'm counting him as not, and I'm counting Fulkrug as not. So basing it on those two players not being able to play, I would start with a 3-1-4-1-1 formation. Now, I would put Areola obviously in goal, who I would say has not been great this year. Out of a lack of choice, I would put Mavropanos as the center right, Kilman in the center. Again, out of lack of choice, Todibo on the center left. I would put Alvarez in front, controlling the left and the right, but predominantly staying in the middle because Cole Palmer, who I'll get to in a second, is their main threat. On the right wing, I would put Bowen. On the left wing, I would start Somerville. In the center, am I going too fast?
No, go on.
In the center right, I would start Soler. I want to see what he can do, and he's more technical than Rodriguez. And I would put Paqueta next to him. In front of them, as the first one, I would put Kudus. And in front of that, purely out of desperation and hoping that the confidence from last week will work well, and the fact that he's got a lot of energy to run across the line, I would put Ings. Fulkrug, even if Fulkrug was ready. Well, just look, Fulkrug is not available. Antonio is spent. Who have we got? That's it. You know what I mean? So even if Fulkrug was ready, the fact that he's not that mobile and Chelsea's central defense, is okay, but, he might be a little bit lacking if he were able to play. So I think you need someone that's going to keep them on their toes. So I would put Ings there as the man up top. I don't want Cresswell anywhere near this squad. I don't want Soufal as a left back if Emerson is out anyway. I would put 3 central defenders, 3 big, tall, strong guys, and have Alvarez as the shield in front. Have 2 creative players in the midfield so that we can distribute the ball as well. We've got to exploit the fact that if they're going to start with a 4-2-3-1, and their two central midfielders aren't. I know Enzo started to play a little bit better, but he's still not great for me. If we can exploit Caicedo, sorry, especially, and Enzo in the midfield by having Paqueta and Soler technically controlling the ball and moving the ball wide through to Kudus over to Ings, I think we'll run riot. We need to make sure that Alvarez sticks to Cole Palmer. We need to make sure that he's close to him. He doesn't lunge in stupidly because Palmer's got such quick feet, such a quick brain that he'll go around him and Alvarez will get booked and then he will be on thin ice for the rest of the game. So Alvarez has got to be very disciplined and stay close to him and maybe rough him up a little bit to begin with, just to make him see what's what. We saw in the England games as well. When you go in at Cole Palmer, then I don't think he likes it very much. But if you leave him space and time, he's a quality player. He will run rings around you. You can't leave him the chance to shoot. He will shoot from anywhere. Again, as he showed also for the England national team. You got to be ready to shut him down. And I think Alvarez has got that ability to shut him down tomorrow. So for me, that's how I would start. We concede too many shots on our goal. I noted them down. 18 shots on target in 4 games. That's 4.5 a game, Nick. 4.5 on target, not off target. You look at Chelsea.
I saw a stat just to cut you off. Now I can't guarantee the validity of this. However,
you're going to say BBC stat. 73 shots.
No. I think it was a screenshot and it was posted on Twitter, and then there was a conversation going on underneath it, and somebody said they'd validated it. But that was that we've conceded the second most chances in the Premier League, and we've created the second least.
That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me because our possession on the ball is also less this year. But 18 shots on target we've conceded, and then I think it's at least 2 times, maybe more, off target as a total across 4 games plus the Bournemouth game. So you're conceding an average of 4.5 shots a game. Chelsea are shooting on target 5 shots a game, average. Yeah. And that's including them playing Man City away, where they didn't really have many shots. So if you take 1 game less for them, then that means that the average has gone up. For me, we've got to make sure we don't give them any sniffs on goal. Jackson, he likes to score against us, I think, as well. So we've got to, and he's beginning to find form.
I think he is finding his feet, Jackson. I don't think he's not. He doesn't appear as terrible as what I first thought he was.
No. I mean, with that name, it's a bit of a head start. But you've got to think Chelsea's threat is Palmer and then the 3. So you've got to have full concentration. We don't need to worry too much about them crossing the ball, because if we've got 3 centre backs. And you've got Bowen dropping back anyway, and Somerville dropping back, and they're fast and they're technical on the ball, then they should be able to suffocate any crosses that come into Jackson. Even if they're not able to, we've got 3 centre-backs that are all, bigger than him, stronger than him, that will snuff it out. Yeah. So long as they stay disciplined, they stay in the central channel of the field, then I think that could work. Alvarez will have a lot of running to do, but we know he can, and he can patrol in front. I think Kilman should stay close to Jackson, but I don't think man mark him. Kilman's not the fastest when he's got, players running at him. We know this. So I think if he can make his life easier if he's a little bit close to Jackson from the beginning. If he gives him too much space, he'll 1-2 with somebody on the wing, Sancho or whoever else, and they'll go around, because Chelsea like to play overloads. They like to play overloads on the wing. So they have 3, 4, 5 players doubling up. So if you've got one player that's slack from us and moves across too early and loses their kind of spot, then they'll run rings around you. And then our defense is a bit slow. Areola's a little bit all over the shop this year as well with some of his decisions of timings. So we've got to make sure that we're disciplined. I think a high tempo start is necessary. We were phenomenal for the first 5 minutes against Man City, and within like 15 seconds, they scored. Okay, it's them. But we can't go gung-ho against Chelsea, but we can't sit back either. We have to impose ourselves on them from the beginning, but in a moderated, disciplined way. And then when we get the opportunities, which we will, then we exploit them. Because you look at their fullbacks, especially Cucurella. Cucurella likes to come forward like hell. He did it for the Spanish team as well. He goes all the way almost to the corner flag. If you got Bowen on him, the second we capture the ball, Bowen's got a free run down that wing. So
Yeah, of
if you got
course.
them, you got Soler or Paqueta and then Kudus in front and whoever else up top, Ings, let's say, for the sake of argument, we've got a counter-attack right there. So we've got
Yeah.
to exploit Cucurella. I don't know the guy that plays on the right side. I noted his name, but I don't know him. Gusto or something. I don't know him. But Cucurella, we know he's very good. He's very good going forward. But Chelsea as a whole don't like to transition back into defense that quickly. They're not smooth. Their whole strength is attacking with the ball and without the ball, but from the middle third and like the upper middle third going forward. Coming back once they've lost the ball, they're not very good at that.
They
So
don't
if
like
we've got
people
two
running at
technical,
them at their back line. They don't like it.
absolutely. So if we've got
Yeah.
two technical players in the middle, forget Souček, forget Rodriguez. We've got two players that can hold the ball, that can read the game, that can see where the pass can be. And especially with Paqueta, he can see into the future with some of his passes. We can get them because if you've got one player in the midfield that is slowing things down, that can't really control, that doesn't really pass, whoever it is, and this is namely referring to Rodriguez or Souček, then you ruin your chances. Our strength is on the wings. That's why I said Somerville on one side, Bowen on the other side, Kudus to work his magic in the middle, and then he's got someone to feed the ball through to. Ings can have one-on-ones with their goalkeeper all day long if the passes are coming.
Well, I'm gonna give you my
Go on
lineup,
then, please.
so you can
Please do.
pull it apart and laugh at me, right?
No,
Okay.
no.
So this is what I'm gonna do. I am going fucking gun ho. Well, it's not really. I don't think that probably is. So I'm going for the 3-2-4-1. The never played 3-2-4-1, as I've spoken about before on this on this channel, right? So that would be Kilman left of a back three. Obviously, Areola in goal. I'd bring Todibo in. I would do. Baptism by fire. Bring him in. We need him. Yeah. We need him up to speed. I would play Aaron Wan-Bissaka as right centre back.
Okay,
that's what I would do.
Okay,
I'd bring him in as right centre back. I'd play Edson Alvarez and Lucas Paqueta as a two.
Okay.
Then I would play Jared Bowen on the right wing. I'd play Somerville on the left wing. I'd play Soler and Kudus in a double pivot 10. So you've almost got a box formation overloading the middle. Packing that middle out. The only thing, and I think most people would like that formation. You'd be excited by it.
No, it's a good one. I like it.
Where I'm going to make everyone shit and stamping it now is
don't say Souček up front.
I'll stick Antonio up front. With the options that we've got, with those players around him, and those players supporting him, we're not hoofing the ball to him. We're not asking.
No.
I know he's not good at link-up play, but what he is good at is chaos. So
True.
I think he's good at battering defenders, and I think if he's got all of those players in and around him, I think he frees up space for other players. And if you've got Bowen, Kudus, Soler, I think Antonio's good at pulling players around. So I just think it gives you a little bit more of a focal point than maybe what Danny Ings is, if you like.
No, I agree. I agree with you. It's logical, definitely. But
we shouldn't be in this situation, by the way.
No,
we shouldn't be saying this.
No,
but I don't know who else to play. I don't know who else to pick.
Absolutely. Look, I know Ings has got his flaws, definitely, but I think bearing in mind what we said about Antonio earlier, your formation with Antonio there, I think works. Anything else with Antonio, I don't think would, given the state that he's in mentally and physically. And I don't have anything negative to say about Antonio for his effort and endeavor and everything else, as I said before. However, we've got to look at the reality. The reality is, if you're putting too much burden on his shoulders, as wide and as muscular as they are, they can't take it anymore. But in your setup, you're freeing that burden to some extent because you've got this square base behind him. But that base needs to be fluid. So it will have to turn into a diamond at some point to compensate. Depending on where the play is shifting to, you can't keep it like Wales do, for example. But
imagine going from what we've seen, a central midfield of Alvarez, Rodriguez and Souček, to having Alvarez,
both
Paqueta,
of our formations are sexy. Both of them are sexy formations.
Having all of that sort of technical talent in the middle, you just all of a sudden you're thinking, do you know what? You've got half a chance of keeping the ball and doing something with it when you've got it as well.
Absolutely. If not now, Nick, when? When are you going to play Soler? When are you going to play Todibo? I know he's not fit, but for God's sake, what do you expect for him to play in friendly games or behind closed doors or for the under-21? When is he going to get match fit in the Premier League? If he's doing crap, take him off at half-time or 65 minutes.
I would honestly, I'd go baptism by fire. This is a good player. He is a good player.
He is a good
What
player, apparently. Yeah,
the other thing that you're going to risk by not playing him is you're gonna damage his confidence. There's all sorts of other shit that can happen. So I think we need to get him started. We've bought him now. There's an
absolutely.
obligation there. He's 40 million.
He's
It's not
ours.
an option to buy. He's our
No.
player.
He's
So
ours.
we've bought him. We've got to make use of him and hope that he comes good. And do you know what? We'll see if he's a big game player. You know, this might be the type of game that he needs. Televised against one of the
Absolutely.
big teams. It could. Do you know what I mean? It could be exactly what he needs.
Motivate him.
It could
Absolutely.
motivate him. Yeah.
If
And
we go,
I do think Wan-Bissaka gives you a little bit of dynamism in that back three as well. It gives. He's a big lump anyway. He's he's more than
technically,
capable
Nick,
of playing that.
what you said makes sense. And the fact if you've got Alvarez anyway in front, even if Wan-Bissaka makes diagonal runs, Alvarez
They can
can
shift
easily
around.
drop back.
Yeah,
He
they
can shift
around.
back Alvarez and cover. So your setup is a logical one, and I do like it. I think he won't go with either of them, but ultimately we'd stand more chance of winning with either your setup or mine than with what we've seen to date. This Chelsea team can be beaten, Nick. They can, but we cannot bow down to them like we did to Palace in parts, like we did to Fulham for 85% of the game. Like we did to Villa for 40-60% of the game. We've got to impose ourselves. We don't like this team at all. We're playing them at our place. We're playing them at a time that suits us. It's a Saturday game. Get 3 points on the board, relax, watch whoever else's game that you want. The players need to show as well that this is the time for them to give something back to the fans. Because yes, it's a transition period. Yes, he's got a lot of players, blah, blah, blah. But it's already game 5. If you include Bournemouth, game 6.
I know.
You've got to get things moving. And this period now, we've got games that we can win. We don't have Europe.
Mate, the thing is, everyone's sitting there at the moment going, you've got to give him time. You've got to give him time. You've got to give him until Christmas. I tell you what, if the worst was to happen and we ended up in or around that bottom 3 after 10, 11 games, everyone would be shitting themselves.
Big time, but I don't think that will happen anyway.
I don't think it will. But what I'm saying is, we're 4 games in. You can't compare last year because last year was a bit of a freak. We started better than we should have because we got some lucky wins. But this time last year, this time last year, we was 4th. We was 4th in the table on 10 points.
I know.
And so there is a bit of a difference there. But like I said, a lot of that is down to luck. We had some lucky fucking results there at the start of that season.
We did definitely. But even that Arsenal game, I would say, yes, you got to give him time, but you've got to see improvement incrementally, even if it's a little bit of improvement each game. And one thing you can't fault him for is not being afraid to make changes.
Can I tell you what I think he's going to go for? Because we're going to have to wrap this one up soon. We have to wrap this one up soon, and then you can tell me what you think he's going to do. I watched a Chelsea fan channel where there was a guy doing a tactical breakdown of their strengths and weaknesses. They're a small team. They're weak from set pieces. I fear that's the key thing that Lopetegui's going to identify, and you know what that means.
Yeah, we know. If that's the case, Nick, and they are looking at their team now,
you know what that means. Yeah. So, but if that is, and that to me, if he was to take that route, I'd be disappointed because I think that's almost like the easy way out. You can't play like that at home. That's because if you play Souček in the team, to quite simply, if you put Souček in the team with Antonio down the middle, you're playing long ball. Yeah,
you are, and that shouldn't be your only avenue that you try to win a game, especially when you know that they've got players in their final third that can hurt you. So if your pass isn't accurate or it's not resulting in a shot on goal at least, and you turn the ball over, you know that they're going to hit the ball, through Enzo to a more extent and then go out wide instantly. Palmer likes to drop back into midfield. So if he sees that, we've lost the ball in the middle of the field or in their defensive third, he'll come back close to Enzo or to Caicedo, and he will try and catch that ball, gather that ball, and then go through us with it.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
One player that you can't afford to give too much time or space to. And he does like to drop back. He likes to move around. He's playing him like an old school number 10. I'm obviously not putting him in the same category as people like Zidane or Ronaldinho, or these, masters of the game, but he's putting him in that position. He's giving him a little bit of a license to kind of do what he wants, because the kid is impulsive, he's fast, he's very confident, he's got very quick feet, he's got a quick turn of pace, and he's got great vision. And this kid, we could have bought him, but that arsehole didn't want him. So that's another point. But you can't give him space. The only player that can try to nullify him is Alvarez. Alvarez holds the key.
He needs to bully him. Alvarez needs to bully him. He
needs to rough him up, but within reason, and don't get stupid cards. I don't know who the ref is, but if Alvarez can snuff him out, even to an extent, then I think they'll start to get desperate. We cannot revert to long ball. It is an insult to the players that we have. Be it Kudus, be it Bowen, to an extent.
Do you know what? I agree, right? But there is one thing that I'm going to say. If he opts for taking he identifies that they've got a weakness, and that weakness is they're small and we've got a good aerial threat. Okay. So let's say he does this. Let's say he goes with Souček and Antonio. What about if he plays a style of play that allows us to overload and get crosses into the box to feed those players? Is that different? Are we talking about something different then? If your plan is to just whip and get loads of crosses into that box, ammunition for those guys to attack, is that because we've not seen that either when he's played Füllkrug, when we've had Souček up there, there's been no supply into the box.
No,
there's been no crosses.
Nick, if you're hoofing balls and then they don't go where they're supposed to, then you have to have a very, very strong counter press. You cannot do it with one player. You have to have at least three. Press, cover, support. And you play at angles. You play incremental angles to one another, 35, 45 degrees. So everyone is on stagnated lines and you're trying to pin them in. If you've only got one person chasing them down, hurrying them, getting exhausted in the meantime.
Look, they're in the middle of a rondo. It's pointless.
Absolutely. So we need to have that discipline. And then we go back. And again, we're not just having a go in, but it's not in his lockup. Souček is not a player to do that. He's not. So then automatically it means that an additional player from further back in the field needs to get involved and engaged, meaning that the defense needs to come forward a little bit more than they would want to compensate for the player that's moved forward in the midfield. So you're putting the whole team out of whack. Now, if we do lose the ball in their half, if we've got technical players that can hurry them, that can hassle them, and Paqueta likes to use his strength as well, and Kudus does as well. I don't know anything really of Soler to comment on this front. I know he's good with the ball, but is he a physical player? I don't know. But if, let's say he is, for the sake of argument, and you're countering your capturing of the ball to the opposition, you can counteract that, by overloading them. Chelsea like to overload when they're playing forward. They don't like to be pushed back into their corners. They like to play from the back. They piss around. And I've never been a coach that likes playing from the back. I think you need to have the perfect team from the goalkeeper to your defense and a CDM that is very, very technical as a whole unit. If teams are trying to do it just for the sake of it, it's just everyone having a desperate desire to replicate what Guardiola introduced 7, 8, 9 years ago. They like to piss around at the back. They love it. So we've got to exploit that. That means that our wingers need to be on their toes. Cucurella is fast. He likes to come forward. He's not the most technical. Again, I repeat, I don't know the Gusto guy, but the two-centered CDMs, they're not world beaters. I
don't think Gusto will be fit. They've got.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Gusto will be fit. I think he's a good player.
Well, regardless, they'll have the same person into this system. They like to put their fullbacks out super wide, almost hugging the touchline. The goalkeeper shuffles to whichever side of the 6-yard box, and then their central defenders are very deep. If we make sure that we counter it with either your formation, or I would need to think more about your one, whether it would work in this case, but my one would. Why? Because we've got the width there, and we've got two players up front, a 1 and a 1, that can move in alternate directions. So that way you're pinning them back into their half and preferably into the corners. Teams are always going to be less effective out wide when they've got the ball. especially if they're in their own defensive third or midfield third. So even if we do hoof the ball up, so long as we've got the discipline and the organization to counter press them with 3, maybe 4 players at a time, and the whole team shuffles across, then we can pin them back and wear them out, and we'll snuff them out before they even go over the halfway line. But this is something that needs practice. It needs a lot of discipline, and it needs a lot of control.
I don't think that's something that he can switch on in the space of a week in training.
No. This is theoretical. This is theoretical as to how you can counteract it. I agree with you. I think he will do exactly the same as he's done in the Fulham game. My
thinking of my formation that I've gone for there is basically what I've done is I've just overloaded the team with technical players, and I'm putting the onus on those players to make something fucking happen.
Same.
That's what I'm doing.
Same. That was the ethos behind mine as well. You got to show your strengths. We are not a team with 2 brilliant CDMs. We're not. We've got 1, but we don't have 2. So why are you wasting Paqueta? Why are you wasting Kudus out wide? You don't think that if Kudus plays left wing, Cucurella's going to match him? He will. Cucurella's got energy until the cows come home. So why are you spending him? Somerville's younger than Cucurella. He might be able to give him some problems because he's so nifty. I
want to see Somerville playing. I want to see him giving some consistent game time now. I like his attitude. Whenever he's come on, he is small, but he's got his. Do you know what? He seems to use his size to his advantage. He kind of he can roll players.
Quickly.
Yeah, really good, really good. I do like him.
And Cucurella doesn't retreat for such turns very quickly. Cucurella's good when you're running at him, but when you're cutting inside him, which Somerville likes to do, and he scored some goals for Leeds last year that were bangers by just cutting and hitting it from 15, 18 yards, Cucurella's not going to be able to react as quickly as if someone's running at him. I agree. Got the players out wide. We need to utilize it to our strengths. We need 3 points on the board, hook or crook. Do I think we'll get them? I honestly don't know. I see score draw. I see a slight better approach to the game as a whole, not from the start. I think he will change it as the game progresses. I don't see him making the changes that you or I suggested or hoped for. I don't think we'll lose. Even if we did, we won't get pummeled.
Give us a score prediction then to wrap it all up. Give us a score prediction.
Gut feeling. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it's because I don't think he's going to make too many changes.
Yeah.
I'd say score draw. I would love to say 2-1 to us, but I'm worried about our slow defense. I think he's going to play 4 at the back and put Sufal left and Wan-Bissaka right, and then Kilman and Mavropanos in the middle, and they're both quite slow. As a result, we're going to concede. I think we'll score. I say score draw, or we lose by 1. I hope I'm wrong, but I would definitely change my mind if he started with your formation or mine. I would say we win. But if he's not, and he's going to start with the same setup and the hoofing, and then praying for a bit of magic from Kudus or Paqueta or maybe Bowen, it's a lottery. What about you?
I can feel a defeat coming. I can feel a defeat coming. I think, like you said, I don't think it's a particularly great time to be playing Chelsea. No. I mean, don't get me wrong. They've got a new manager as well. They're brought in as they normally do. I suppose a little bit further along, but he's had his own problems to deal with. They had a squad of 40 players. He's had to cull half of them and try and form a team out of what he had left. Yeah. So it's a different problem in itself. But they seem to be clicking. Pretty early on. I don't think we're anywhere near clicking.
No, we're not.
I really don't think we are, and that's a concern. I'm not seeing any.
Signs.
I'm not seeing any signs of an identity yet. I couldn't tell you what we are.
I don't know. I don't know what we are either. No, same.
No,
and the possession's not really improved that much for someone that is a possession-based coach. I don't think our average is that much better than under Moyes.
No, I don't think so. So for me, I think we're going to lose. I don't think we'll get hammered though. No, I don't think we'll get hammered. Same. I think it's going to be. I think we'll probably score. My prediction would be, if I was going to make a prediction, I think they'll beat us without reply. It's going to be 1 or 2 nil to Chelsea.
Oh,
I
we
think.
won't score.
I don't think so.
Well, look, even if we somehow get
I
a draw,
know they've got the weaknesses that you're talking about. I don't think he's going to exploit them.
No, I agree. That's why I said if he went with your formation or mine, then I'd say with 75% chance of winning, but he won't. Even if somehow, even if not starting the game in the way that we want, but he makes the changes, we scrape a draw or we get a draw, not scrape. We get a draw and we beat Tottenham in a few weeks, I'd be content.
Yeah. Look.
We need to see incremental improvements, Nick. We need to see incremental improvements.
Football's mad, and the issue that you got is with every game. We'll try and wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. With every game that expires, if we lose against Chelsea, there's massive pressure on Brentford, and they're a bastard.
Absolutely.
They're a bastard team. They're not a team that you want to have to beat.
No.
And then if you don't get a result in that one, you've got Ipswich, who play decent football. I think they're more of a team than what we are. I think we'll beat Ipswich. I don't think that'll be a problem. But they are a good team. They're not crap. They're not rubbish.
No.
So if you're not on it and you're not together, and that's the issue that I'm seeing at the moment. I'm not seeing a team yet.
No,
I'm not really seeing a team. I'm not, and that's a problem. And when that's the case, you're always going to be vulnerable to defeat. I think. I think we have managed to get some good results this year, but that's mainly through luck. We was talking about the chances we've conceded this year already. Aston Villa, they should have had 3-4 goals in the fucking first half.
At least 4 in the first half.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Bournemouth should have had loads of. We was lucky to go through in that competition. They should have had it. They should have had quite a few goals in the first half.
Yeah.
Palace should have had a few goals in the first half as well.
Yeah.
So we have been lucky, and Fulham should have had that game wrapped up. So far we've had a bit of luck, and you do need luck. But I just hope that what he does is I hope he can recognise that. I hope he can recognise that he's got away with a few there, and he's got to stop fucking around now.
I hope so too, Nick. Sorry to interrupt you. I think that the next 3 games will be crucial. Even the Liverpool game, even if we're to lose to Liverpool, which is obviously a very high possibility. You never know, but let's say
it's going to be their B team. If I was Lopetegui, I'd be going first team out against it.
First team.
All
for
fucking
me,
day
that's
long.
our best route.
All day
that's
long.
Our best route for European qualification.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll finish top 8. I don't think so. So for me, you have to try your best to win the Carabao Cup, or at least get to the final and hope you're playing a top 4 team that's going to qualify for Europe anyway. For me, we have to try that route. Even if we go to the Conference League, I don't care. Europe is Europe. This year, I think is good that we're not in Europe, given this transition and this rebuild.
Oh, mate, could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Way worse.
My God.
Way worse. So for me, we have to try get back into Europe next year. Even if we don't achieve it, get a cup run at least. Give the fans something to cheer about. Mid-table, winning the Carabao Cup will be a great season for me. And then we can get rid of a couple more deadweight players next year from their contracts and hopefully buy a few new ones as well. But it's not going as slow. It's going slower than we probably wanted it to, but it's not giving us much indication to be too buoyant about things changing in the short term. This is the issue. This is the issue. I think all the while that we're seeing, and look, it could well be. I think I've heard it might have been Stell on the West Ham Voice mentioned it, and I think it was a fair point. I think he said that there's certain players, Antonio and Souček namely, they are the pin-up boys for Moyes football. And while we're playing this way, I do think that maybe there is a stigma around those 2 players now. I think there is. Yeah. Look, you can't. Their performances do nothing to counteract how we feel about them in the team at the moment. But I do think that all the while, when you've got all of this talent that we've got, and they're being held back to play those 2, that is causing unnecessary frustration. I think Lopetegui's putting too much pressure on himself. I think he is. I don't think it's necessary. Especially early on, and that's why I don't get all this slowly. If I was Lopetegui at the start of this season, I would have got an idea in my head what I was going to be doing, and I would have been fielding that fucking team from the off. I would have, and I really would have. I'd have been fielding that team from the off because it's like new manager, new team, And then do you know what?
If after 3, 4, 5 games you haven't,
then
you haven't,
change.
but you're then 3, 4, 5 games.
Yeah.
They've been playing together. They've been trying to execute it. You're further along.
Yeah.
I just feel like this kind of the iterative change is going to hinder how fast we get this. I keep on saying this word philosophy. Like I said to you,
No, that's a nonsense
I'm
word. When you apply to football, I think it's nonsense.
I'm not seeing anything at the moment.
No,
I'm not seeing anything at the
no,
moment.
same. I think it's rather than philosophy. I mean, I would say that.
Well,
the
look,
attitude,
by philosophy, are we going to be an attacking team or a defensive team?
precisely.
I
That's
think
what I was going to
we
say.
mean, yeah.
It's your
Yeah.
attitude to how you approach the game,
Yeah.
rather than anything more deep than that. I think you're right. It's going to slow down the amount of time that we need to transition into this new era, because he seems to be a bit indecisive still. Because he's not giving himself the chance to play the better players all together from the beginning, and he's tried to do too many small changes. Whereas if you just put them all in at the same time, they're all in the same boat. They're all fresh. So put majority of those 10 in together, and they'll start to learn how they are. But if you put 3 of them one week and then a different 4 the next, and then 2 the next, then you're thinking, well, they haven't had any consistency or game time. They can't read one another's games. They don't know each other's strengths and weaknesses. So what the hell do I expect to happen? Then you start all over again the next game. I agree with you completely. He should have started with his best players, and only he sees them in training. We can't just judge Somerville because he was great at Leeds. We know he's a great little player, but we don't know what he's like in training. Okay, fine. But you know players like Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta, Alvarez.
Yeah.
You know these guys. He knows Kilman from Wolves. You know Areola. So you've got 6 of the 11 right there. So you keep those 6 in their best positions, and then the new players that you've got, you adapt them. You can't just have this predefined formation in your mind. I'm going to play 4-2-3-1. Forget 4-2-3-1. Everyone's been playing that for a few years. You always play your formation to suit your players. If it's a little bit skewed with, so be it. You've got to adapt and adapt to
the most important thing, especially before we go, because we're going to have to wrap this up. Otherwise, we'll never get done. But what you're saying there is 100% right, because the most important thing, seriously, because we're going to try and do these every week or every couple of weeks. And I'm going to have to try and coach you down from an hour to half an hour for a review. Right. Sorry, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to have to be a challenge. We'll work our way down. I've never been on screen with someone that talks more than me. Right, so
sorry.
No, it's great, mate. It's brilliant. But no. I think one more point before we go for me. And like what you just said there, is getting the best out of your players that you've got. You know, if you've got to change your formation, and that is why I think we would both agree that one of our most impactful players that could win a game for us at any point is Kudus. And to play him and waste him out on that left hand side, I know he can still play well and impact the game as a winger. He's a great player, but it's where he's least.
That's why.
But it's where he's least effective.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's where he's least effective.
And I go back to what I said
why would you do
Cucurella.
That? Why would you do it?
You match him up with Cucurella, you're nullifying him. Play him in the middle, let him run at their defense, have free roam to link up with the wingers who can then provide low passes across the box to Ings to tap in.
Yeah.
Because their goalie's wobbly. You've got to exploit that.
Massively.
So you know what I mean? And he plays around too much with his feet in the 6-yard box. So you've got to run at him. I hope that we're both proven wrong in how he sets up. I'll wait to see tomorrow. Are you going to the game?
No, I'm not, unfortunately. But anyway, Corral, thank you very much, mate. I really enjoyed that, mate. You're a very knowledgeable man.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You're a very knowledgeable man.
No, thank you.
That's good. It's good. I'm going to get a buzzer. I'm going to put a timer on the screen and say, right, Corral, you've got 3 minutes to talk about this bit. 4 minutes.
You're going to entice people to write nasty comments about me now.
No, mate. No, you're passionate. You know what you're talking about. It's brilliant. It is.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope everyone enjoys it, and fingers crossed that we win tomorrow, or at least put in a good shift and at least get a point, and then grow from there.
Absolutely right. Thank you, everyone. Cheers, Corral. Right,
See
1
you.
minute.
Bye.